Hello, I am Bill Farrell with the Irish American Artists Guild. I want to take you on a journey of how the Irish ventured into America. We will see how they faced hardship and racism. We will see how Irish Americans eventually assimilate under great adversity. In full disclosure, not only am I an Irish American, but a political cartoonist who knows full well how editorial cartoons represent public sentiment. My background is that I've studied under such caricature artist greats as Peter DeCive, of Newsweek magazine, The New Yorker, Disney, and DreamWorks, and C.F. Payne of Time, Reader Digest, and many children's books. He's been called the 21st century Norman Rockwell. I believe this background, coupled with my own professional experience, gives me unique insight and perspective. My own career has not shied away from controversy. This is a caricature of Robert E. Lee. As leader of the Confederate Army of Virginia, Lee represented a nation that embraced slavery. However, he was personally well respected. So I wanted to depict Lee as a troubled leader, a sad man, one whose inner scars manifested outwardly. I also gained a bit of a reputation for drawing Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein. Putting him in a spider hole, or at least trying to escape from it, wasn't that controversial. But making him a witch doctor definitely was. You see, a primitive stereotype slight would say any culture that we don't understand is just practicing voodoo. This was not my intention, as I was just trying to depict he was concocting hazardous weapons, as marked by the symbol on the cauldron, though I do understand the delicateness of trying to get that point across, and the history of racism, how depicting cultures as inferior by showing them as primitive. Again, that wasn't my intention, but I learned a lot from publishing work like this, which did cause some debate. It is quite the providence in America that we've been granted the right to free speech. Free speech does not always mean harmful speech. However, free speech might have been one of the small factors of why the Irish decided to come to America. The biggest factor? Starvation, caused by the potato blight that evolved into a major famine. This famine would literally gut the Irish population in half by either starvation, disease, or flight. Many Irish were excited to come to America because there was the promise that America was the land of opportunity. Tired and hungry, young and old, yearn not only to escape because of starvation, but because of prejudice in Europe. The Irish were called Frankensteins, monkeys, wild beasts. It is the brutish, animal, drunken, barbarian stereotypes that would cloud even the mind of the creator of the modern-day Santa Claus, Thomas Nast. Now, for the record, it is a myth that the word nasty came from how Thomas Nast treated the Irish. But he did loathe them, and he treated them as wild buffoons. Though there were personal reasons. For example, such as his war with Boss Tweed, the most corrupt, or arguably the most corrupt, political leader in American history, who routinely threatened America's political system and Nast's life. Though this is hardly an excuse for racism against an entire people. Nast blamed every major social disharmony on the Irish fairly or unfairly. He depicted Irish religious faith as dangerous to Americans and advocated that America bring justice to the unruly Irish, as depicted in this cartoon of Lady Columbia. his fervor ignited public sentiment against the Irish. Nast, in fairness, was not completely racist. It should be noted that he was a tremendous supporter of the Emancipation Proclamation that helped free the slaves. The next great wave of attention towards the Irish in America was when JFK was elected. Initially, all the buffoonery and racism that was attached to the Nast era returned 80 years later. Do you see this racist cartoon that depicts how the Irish are like dogs? Now look at this JFK cartoon. Though how the Irish are treated in America would evolve under JFK. Even a cartoon depicting JFK as the devil, standing next to Nikita Khrushchev, looking in a funny mirror, is progress, because the cartoon is assaulting who the cartoonist thinks JFK is, not a stereotype. And sure, this exploding cigar cartoon makes President Kennedy look ridiculous, but it was his CIA that tried to kill Castro this way. Again, not using a stereotype, but attacking his personal behavior. Kennedy would earn the world's respect, which greatly aided in the reputation of all Irish Americans. Thomas Nast would have never drawn JFK's brother, Ted Kennedy, as a hero. Another great man who claimed Irish ancestry was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This also helped how Irish Americans are seen in America. This great man not only helped African Americans, but Irish Americans too. All of Americans owe him a great deal of respect. Now, after Kennedy and Martin Luther King Jr., the next great Irish American leader was Ronald Reagan. Controversial, Reagan was known for his Hollywood star looks and the twinkle in his eye, though some would claim that that twinkle was actually a dim light bulb. Reagan gained a lot of historical respect not only for his speaking abilities, but he's credited for helping in the Cold War, though his critics would claim that it was his stone-cold approach to domestic policy that cared little for the common man that earned him his reputation as a vampire, sucking the life out of the little people to be a bigger-than-life global cowboy. Clinton was also a very proud Irish American. He was an entertainer, but one that didn't fit Irish stereotypes. Clinton has been recognized as someone who is hopeful, inspiring, but ultimately as a relationship troublemaker. And again, though he had his problems, we see a real progress here because he's treated as a scholar, not like one of Nast's morons. Even Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton's wife, escaped the clutches of being depicted as some of Irish Americans' worst stereotypes. Now on to George Herbert Walker Bush. In full disclosure, this project is not attempting to make any overt political judgments, but as an analysis of how Irish Americans are being depicted in racist terms, or not racist terms. What is not in dispute, Bush is probably the most controversial of all modern presidents. It is because of this, some felt this gave license to revert to making racist jokes about President Bush. For example, in this cartoon, Bush is depicted as such a stupid monkey he can't even use the United Nations toilet paper. Now in this cartoon, look how the Irish are depicted as stupid little monkeys. Or even in this one, where they're talking about how they named all the lowest creatures at the zoo after the Irish. The simian features would be repeated in this cartoon of Bush, and countless others. Or in this one, you see Bush depicted as a crocodile, a device that Nast himself used frequently. It is important that when a cartoonist attacks, it's based upon personality and not on stereotypes. This is a clear example of attacking Bush not on racial grounds. Or this cartoon. While this caricature exaggerates, it's not intending racial overtones. We at the Irish American Artists Guild are not against caricature nor cartooning. In fact, we think it's an important cultural demonstration that reflects how society thinks and is why we came here. It's an example of free thought, though we want to encourage this wonderful, masterful art form in a way that's positive and beneficial to all. So we've created a website that explores the history of Thomas Nast and other Irish American leaders who left their indelible mark on who we are as a nation. We've included on our website a fun game to encourage people to use a personality test when it comes to cartooning. So what this game does is that it uses a visual personality test. For example, you would select what kind of animal do you most relate to, or what kind of animal are you? Another question might be, what do you feel more like today? Stone, ice, maybe a leaf blowing in the wind. Maybe you're on fire. Maybe you're on fire! Or maybe you're feeling kind of barbed wire today. What this personality test does is it focuses you on looking at personality more than stereotype. What we do with this is once we've had you answer a list of questions, we link you to a cartoonist that we think would fit your personality, their style. These are cartoonists who use personality over stereotypes. They have a record and a career of doing so. For example, here's the wild, crazy Sebastian Kruger. His caricature style grabs the frenetic energy that most people have that are superstars. He seems to grab that craziness in life and magnifies it in such huge, enormous ways. This deeply contrasts with the style of David Levine, who's known for having this fantastic finesse, this nobility, yet this personability. He brings these people down to our level in a way that we can understand them, yet they still retain their greatness. Or maybe your personality is more closely linked to C.F. Payne, whose work, again, has appeared in everything from Time magazine to Reader's Digest. He walks that fine line of both the most outrageous to the calm or the sublime. And so usually C.F. Payne is somewhere in the middle. If you're that leaf blowing in the wind, you're not too much one way or too much another. Maybe you're more a C.F. Payne. Again, what we want to do is give people positive examples of how to cartoon, how to caricature, so that this art form is not plagued with the racism of the past, but the greatness of now and the future. I am Bill Farrell, and it has been a pleasure to discuss my passion through design and caricature and history with all of you. Thank you, and have a wonderful night.